King asked Afanti to divide the goose meat, but he cut off the meatless goose head and gave it to the king, claiming that as the ruler, he deserved to be the head of state. Hearing this reasoning, the king had to accept it. Though he didn't like eating goose head, there was nothing he could do. Then he cut off the goose neck and gave it to the queen. He said the king was the head, the queen the neck, connected like their deep love. So the noble queen had to accept Afanti's goose neck. Next, the goose wings went to the princess, because she would soon marry. The wings symbolized flying away to distant places. Finally, the goose feet went to the prince. Since the prince would inherit the throne someday, the feet symbolized staying grounded and moving forward steadily. The king thought the goose meat would now be shared with everyone. Afanti picked up the goose body and said this part had no special meaning, so it would have to do for humble Afanti and the servants. Furious, the king posed a difficult question. If Afanti couldn't answer, he'd send him to meet his maker. How many buckets of water are in Lake Portal? Just when everyone worried Afanti couldn't answer, his response surprised them all. If this bucket is as big as this lake, then it's 1 bucket of water. If this bucket is half the size of the lake, then it's 2 buckets of water. By this logic, how many buckets the lake holds depends on the bucket size. The king was left speechless. He immediately brought 3 scholars to question Afanti. How many stars are in the sky? Afanti smiled, saying this simple question could even be answered by his donkey. As the donkey swayed around, Afanti immediately gave his answer. However many hairs it has, that's how many stars are in the sky. The scholar immediately objected that donkey hair couldn't be counted. Since donkey hair can't be counted, naturally the stars in the sky can't be counted either. Afanti's answer was convincing enough. The second scholar had to step forward with a question. He asked Afanti how many hairs were in his beard. Afanti laughed heartily and picked up his donkey's tail. He said as many as the hairs on this donkey's tail, and he offered to count his beard hairs against the donkey's tail hairs to verify. If he was short by even 1 hair, he'd admit defeat. Knowing it couldn't be counted, the scholar slunk away. The last scholar posed an ultimate challenge. Where is the center of the earth? At this question, all ministers said no one in the world could solve it, because no one had traveled that far. But Afanti said this question was still too simple. His donkey could answer it. The donkey tapped the ground a few times. Afanti immediately declared that where his donkey pointed was the earth's center. The scholar didn't believe it and demanded proof from Afanti. But Afanti told him to walk around the earth once to verify. The scholar was immediately left speechless. Thus Afanti defeated all 3 with his wisdom.